We're all mad today. I'm mad we can't get a close wild card game. Jack and Zach are mad because their teams are about to lose. Jesse's mad because he doesn't have Belichick. This is Pastor Rob.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian.
Yeah.
Posting like Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
flying to see the pie.
Yeah.
Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jackies. He go silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock.
Woo.
Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo, partner, pass the rock. For real.
All right, maybe not everybody's mad. Maybe Jesse's excited about Gerard Mayo. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
10-year Patriot, and he was an all-pro with the Patriots. He's been a defensive coach. Obviously Mike Vrabel is the obvious go-to, but this is a guy who knows the Patriot way, and that's more important than anything. And I think he's not afraid to take a quarterback in the draft is the best thing, because I did not want to go into another year with Bill Belichick drafting some O-lineman third overall. So I think Gerard Mayo is ready to change the team's future, and I'm ready to go.
If you want to change the team's future, go a different direction. Why are you hiring from within? You're just basically getting a younger Belichick.
He's not.
Are you? I'll take a younger Belichick. Thank you.
Also, yeah, if he is a younger Belichick, then sure.
Yeah,
we'll
I
take
guess
another
that's fair.
20-year
I guess that's
dynasty.
fair. But if you want to change the organizational philosophy, I'm saying
A younger
hiring one of his
arguably
guys.
the greatest coach of all time
The
is
philosophy
not a
works.
downgrade whatsoever. If we're saying that Mayo is just a younger version of Belichick, every team would have been in the running for
That's
him.
very fair.
I don't think he's going to be nearly as good as Belichick. It's impossible to top what he did, pretty much. So, I do like that is from within. I do like, having some stability with the coaching, but we'll have to see how it pans out. And like Jesse said, if they're willing to take a quarterback, that is a positive direction for the Patriots franchise.
Yeah, you have to take a quarterback at 3. I mean, come on. And you might get the best one, Jaden Daniels. All right, moving on. Jack, which would you rather sign, Tua or Dak, to a long-term deal?
That's tough. That's tough because they both have such obvious flaws. I think I might lean Tua, which is a little crazy because I have been a known Tua hater for a long time. But Dak, look, he's a good regular season quarterback. We've just seen time and time again, you get to the playoffs, Dak's nowhere to be seen. This is this year 8 of Dak Prescott in the NFL at this point? Like I feel like we've gotten a large sample size of playoff Dak, and I'm not a fan. Tua, look, his play style is risky inherently. He's great at anticipating throws, but sometimes he's going to over-anticipate and put the ball in harm's way. That's just the way that Tua plays football. But he's consistent. He's going to be that way whether it's the regular season. He was that way in that Chiefs game. It's just that sometimes the turnovers will be a little higher. But either way, Tua will score touchdowns. He will make your offense function no matter the situation. And not to mention he's younger than Dak too. So I think I would lean Tua.
Assuming both those guys are signed long-term, Jesse, which one is better for their respective team?
I think it's Dak all the way. I know that even though it's year 8 of him doing this and they still haven't made it to the conference championship, they have, by the way, Cowboys have the longest streak of 13 straight postseason, 13 straight years in the playoffs with no conference championship. So never really getting past that hump. It's the longest streak ever. But Tua is, even though he's younger, I feel like the mileage is higher with 3 concussions. I mean, Dak's had some bad injuries, but never to the head. And with what Tua's got, also, he's a lefty, which automatically makes him at least 5% worse. So I think that what you have with Tua, what you have with Dak, I'd rather roll with Dak over the long term. He's got them there. Yeah, he made some mistakes yesterday, but also the defense allowed like 40-plus points. And I don't think that game was entirely his fault. Yeah, like he looked like prime Peyton Manning when it came to garbage time. And obviously the game was out of hand at that point. But I'm rolling with Dak over Tua long term. I just don't think that Tua is the elite playmaker. I don't think he's the guy for Dak. I don't think it's a fluke for Dak to lead a team to winning seasons to 12-5 consistently. And yeah, they haven't got it done in the playoffs, but I think you could point a lot of fingers around. I don't think Dak was the main problem as to why they lost. And you said Tua can create touchdowns out of anywhere. Where was that Saturday night? They had 1 touchdown on a broken play to Tyreek Hill. I mean, they didn't create anything out of that. Once the motion stopped, once it got a little cold, Miami completely froze up. So I'd roll with Dak.
Nice. I like the froze up pun. In the end, I think when it comes down to it, I'd rather have Dak because he's more mobile. Tua is just not athletic. If you can be non-athletic and be a quarterback in the NFL, Tua is your prime example. And the injury history. I mean, both these guys have the offensive players around them. They should be able to succeed, even in the playoffs. Both showed this year they can really only beat crappy teams. I guess you could argue Dallas beat Philadelphia, whatever we think of Philadelphia. But in the end, I'm leaning Dak as well. I'm going to use Dak. Will today's games save an otherwise boring wildcard weekend?
I mean, before we just call this entire weekend boring, lest we forget yesterday, I mean, the Cowboys losing by that much is pretty much a national holiday. It never happened. So I'd say most NFL, I would say most NFL fans were very pleased with how the Packers-Cowboys game came out. And then last night with the Lions-Rams, just what a great game between, quarterbacks who playing against their former teams. It was a really close score. The teams were in it late into the game, something that you just really like to see. I'd say that was overall a really good game and Detroit's first win in the playoffs in 30 years. But will tonight make wildcard weekend any better? I don't really think so. First of all, both of these teams are not playing in fair weather. The Bills game is going to have likely just snow or just frigid cold. It's going to be extremely cold up in Buffalo. And then down in Tampa, it's going to be calling for rain throughout the entire night. So the weather's not going to help us. The play on the field, I mean, I would give the Steelers a chance if they had TJ Watt, but they do not. So I'm just expecting the Bills to have another wild card route. So I don't think that's going to be a great game. And then again, it's just, I mean, with Tampa and the Eagles, you have two kind of subpar teams at this point going up against each other for a game that pretty much says, hey, do we want to lose to the, what was it? If the, I forget who goes where depending on who wins. All I know is that if the Eagles win, they get their ass.
Whoever wins
set.
goes to Detroit.
Yeah.
Whoever wins goes to Detroit. Okay, so it's basically the game of who wants to go to Detroit to get their ass kicked, because neither of these teams are going to be able to beat Detroit anyways. So it's pretty much a meaningless game in my eyes. I don't think tonight's games will be able to save a lame wildcard weekend, or at least a lame majority of wildcard weekend.
Two things. Case, yes, we are going to talk about CJ Stroud. Just hold on the line for that one. Number two, Detroit lucked out so much by Dallas losing. The Packers, probably the best, away team next week in the NFC, have to go and play San Francisco. They don't have to come to Detroit, and then Detroit gets the winner of Bucs-Eagles. So it's perfect. Detroit gets the home game in round 2. That's going to be pretty sweet for them. Let's move on to Browns-Texans. True or false? Jack, back to you. CJ Stroud, best rookie ever for a quarterback. Let me read that one again. True or false? CJ Stroud, best rookie year for a quarterback ever.
I mean, at a bare minimum, he has to be in the conversation. This season for CJ Stroud has been truly unbelievable. I mean, not to mention the fact that this was not really expected. I feel like a lot of the time when you see an outstanding rookie year, it'll be a guy that was like, the number 1 overall pick, a guy that was highly touted, like Andrew Luck, for example, had an outstanding rookie year. But he was also the number 1 pick. He was an unbelievable quarterback in college at Stanford. People sort of saw it coming with Andrew Luck. CJ Stroud, while he was the 2nd overall pick, he had his knocks in the pre-draft process. People were calling him stupid because he failed his whatever test. And he comes out and absolutely balls out. He leads the Texans to a 10-7 season after being a complete laughingstock for basically 3 straight seasons. And then now they play a really good Browns team in the playoffs against a really solid defense. Joe Flacco is playing the best football that he has in the last probably 8 years. And the Texans come out there and really dismantle them. I mean, the Browns are not in that game for a second. I mean, maybe early on in the game, but the Texans pulled away pretty much by halftime. I'm just so unbelievably impressed. I barely even have words for CJ Stroud and also for D'Amico Ryans and the job that 2 of them have done this year.
Yeah, Case, you're right, and he was out with a concussion for a game or two. So, Zach, over to you. The Watson deal that the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, worst deal in NFL history, yes or no?
Absolutely, it is. There's no hesitation in my mind. This has to go down as the worst deal in NFL history. The only other one that comes even close would be the Albert Hainsworth deal, but the salary has changed. Like the level of salary in the NFL has changed so much since then. I think this absolutely has to go down as the worst contract in NFL history. Still, it's still unbelievable that the Browns decided to guarantee every last dollar in this contract without, being like, don't worry, we know you're going to be perfectly fine. You're going to be perfectly healthy. You're going to have great seasons in Cleveland. Just without a second thought, we're going to give you every single month. We're going to give you every single dollar in this contract without worrying about anything. But one injury completely invalidates this entire contract's purpose. If he even misses 5 games, I mean, he's missed more than that already. He misses 5 games. It feels like this contract's already a waste. He's missed way more than that already, and the Browns have found better quarterback play outside of him. Has to be the worst contract in NFL history.
Yeah, this is an old guy comment, so just bear with me. This could be the Houston Texans version of when Dallas traded Herschel Walker and got every pick under the sun from the Vikings and then built their last Super Bowl contender, which won 3 in the early 90s. So, Jesse, over to you. Are the Browns feeling better now because they don't have a quarterback competition between Flacco and Watson?
I don't know. I don't feel better about it at all. I would agree with Zach that it's still the worst deal of all time, and you're still looking at all the draft picks that you still have to give away this year, and I think still another one next year. There's just so many draft picks going Houston's way, and to be stuck where you are right now. I mean, the Browns just had a great season, but you don't know what Nick Chubb's going to be like when he comes back. You don't know. I know there's probably a lot of expiring deals on defense. The defense just did not look as good with Denzel Ward and all the guys. I mean, did Myles Garrett even play? I didn't even see him on the field at all. It seemed like he really didn't. So I wouldn't feel good about it at all. And I just wanted to add to the CJ Stroud debate. I would put an argument in there for Russell Wilson having the best rookie year of all time. A Wisconsin guy, 3rd round draft pick to come out, lead the Seahawks to the postseason, and also I think their first home playoff win in 30 years since the 1980s. Wins the wild card round, loses the divisional to the Falcons on a game-winning field goal, and then the next year wins the Super Bowl with the Seahawks in his 2nd year. So I think that Russell Wilson coming in as a 3rd-round talent, leading the Seahawks to 11-5 after they had been 7-9 the year before, into the playoffs, wins a playoff game. I think that has some contention for best rookie season ever. He also had a passer rating of 100 on the season, which at the time was the best ever by a rookie. So I think that got broken by Andrew Luck eventually. But I think that you got to put Russell Wilson's name in the mix when it comes to best rookie seasons of all time.
For sure. There were only 8 rookie quarterback, or CJ Stroud was the 8th rookie quarterback to win a playoff game, including 2000 Aaron Brooks. Thank you very much, New Orleans Saints. Let me move on. Dolphins Chiefs. I'm going to give this one to Jack because he's such a lover of Tua. Does Tua's lack of athleticism give him a low ceiling in today's NFL? His longest run of the year, he tied it on Saturday with 9 yards.
I mean, I don't know that. I think you could be successful in the NFL today without being a Lamar Jackson. I don't think you need to be a freak athlete to be a great quarterback. But I do think that maybe it is a lower ceiling. I think that is fair to say, because if you think about the absolute best of the best in our league today, you've got, of course, Pat Mahomes is a guy that can move around a lot. Josh Allen is a freak athlete. You've got Lamar is an incredible athlete. I mean, it's the best of the best tend to have that as just that extra piece, that little piece that gives you a little bit of a boost. It makes you really one of the top, with Joe Burrow being, I think, one of the only exceptions. But while that might lower his ceiling because he certainly isn't the decision maker that Joe Burrow is, I still think Tua has room to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He just might not have the ceiling to be top 1.
Yeah, I think on paper you're right, but I think if you watch his performance late in the season, it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to be something where he takes him anywhere. And the eye test is something. There's something there. Jesse, can this Chiefs defense drag the underperforming offense all the way to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, this defense has looked great. I think that over the year they were the second-rated unit behind the Ravens only in a lot of the stats that matter the most. And I mean, Chris Jones has been playing amazing. L'Jarius Sneed was absolutely locking up Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill even said on Twitter that he jammed him all the way to Cancun. So they were locked down, and I think that yes, the underperforming offense has been slow, but considering the elements, they looked pretty good on Saturday night. Rashee Rice, by the way, had I know Puka Nacua just broke the rookie record for most yards. Rashee Rice, not to mention, had 130 yards in that game as well, receiving. So he was huge for Patrick Mahomes and looks like the clear number one moving forward. His stock next year is going to shoot super high in every fantasy league you're in. But I think absolutely the defense is good enough to carry them to the Super Bowl. If they're playing like they are now, and if they continue to play at Arrowhead or in any cold environment, like if they go to Buffalo as well, they know how to play in the cold. So it's going to be, I think that they're poised for a deep run right now. Looking a lot better than 3 weeks ago.
I really want the Bills to win today. No offense, Jack, to beat your Steelers, just so that I can see Pat Mahomes have to go on the road in the playoffs, something he has never done, which is an amazing stat that he's always been the 1 seed in the AFC.
Wow.
So something to keep an eye on. Zach, over to you. Given the state of each franchise, would you rather take control of the Steelers or the Dolphins today?
Ooh, I gotta go with the Dolphins. I feel like just overall they have. I would argue they have a brighter future. I feel like their season was very much derailed by injuries, and you can't really control that. Overall, you still have a franchise head coach. You have a franchise quarterback. I mean, give or take whatever you think of Tua's ceiling, I still think he is the franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Whether that means he's top 10, top 15, I mean, still, that's a franchise quarterback for a lot of franchises. Alongside that, you still have Tyreek Hill. You still have 2 great running backs. You still have Jalen Waddle. You still have Mike McDaniel, one of the best coaches in the business. I feel like the Dolphins overall, they're going to be fine. It was Tua's first ever playoff game. I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that it was Tua's first ever real test in the playoffs. He does not have a track record of this. We don't know.
Was it Skylar Thompson last year?
Yeah, it was Skylar Thompson last year. I think people are really forgetting that this is the first time Tua's ever been in the playoffs, and he had to go into Arrowhead. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was -5 degrees as well.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah. You're talking about the worst case scenario for Tua's playoff debut, and he refused to wear gloves, which he'll learn from in the future. I'm just saying, compared to what the Pittsburgh Steelers have going on, I think the Dolphins still have a bright future overall, and I'm easily taking them.
Not to mention, he's from Hawaii, went to Alabama, and lives in Miami. I don't think he's ever seen a minus on the weather app in his life.
No, definitely not. Look, I hear everything you're saying, and it's all well and good. But CJ Stroud and Jordan Love didn't have any problems in their first, game. I mean, there is something that just looks off with him, and it would be hard pressed for me to give him a fat stack of cash. There's got to be somebody to call him a franchise quarterback. I think is tough.
It's like looking at your team when they're 10-1 and saying it's not that good.
Look,
exactly.
Look,
there's something to the eye test. Not everything is metrics.
What I'm going to say to that is that look at Tua's Alabama teammate in Jalen Hurts. He made his playoff debut in 2021 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers led by Tom Brady. He had a disastrous game. It was not a good game for him whatsoever. And the following year in 2022, throughout the playoffs, he shined and he took that Eagles team to a Super Bowl appearance, looking much better and much more improved from year to year. I'm just saying we should give Tua a little bit of slack. Come back next year, see what happens, see how he does next year. He'll probably improve just like his teammate Alabama, Hurts, did.
We'll see. I wasn't feeling it, that's for sure. No matter what the elements are, you got to perform. Jack, Packers at Cowboys. Who had a more impressive playoff debut? They almost had the exact same stats. CJ Stroud or Jordan Love?
Man, I mean, Why can't I just say both? I mean, they were both so unbelievable. I really just enjoyed watching both of them so much. I would say the one thing I will say about Jordan Love that was just uncanny watching that game was the amount of times that I watched him and I was like, this is literally like watching Aaron Rodgers again. Like the amount of Aaron Rodgers-esque throws that he made, just off his back foot, like sort of slinging it that way, like. And he, even down to the cadence is exactly the same. Like Green 19, it's uncanny. And I was just so impressed with Jordan Love and the Packers' just ability to, just they replicate the same thing over and over again. They've had 3 quarterbacks in the last 30 years, and you're just basically copying and pasting with this system where you draft a guy, let him sit, learn behind an all-time great, and all of a sudden you've got another great quarterback. So I think as impressed to be the most, I would say Jordan Love, but both guys deserve just so much credit for what they've done, not only in this game, but in this season.
Yeah, and in 30 years, they have 2 Super Bowl championships, one for Favre, one for Rodgers. Rodgers never did get back. Just to point out, Jesse, is playoff experience, we're talking about Tua, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, is playoff experience just not as big of a factor anymore?
I don't think so at all. Based on the games that we just saw with 2 guys who'd never played in the playoffs, had their best career games, it looked like. I don't think it matters at all. Joe Flacco has more playoff experience than anybody this year. And look what happened to the Browns. I just think all that matters is who's hot and who's not. The Texans, they started rolling the second half of the season. And, CJ Stroud got hurt. Then he came back. Now they're all fully healthy. Nico Collins is healthy. He's healthy. Devin Singletary is healthy. That offense is moving. The defense is moving. And, same with same with Detroit. Detroit's getting hot at the right time. Jared Goff has some playoff experience, not nearly as much as Matt Stafford. That team is just hot. Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, the reigning Super Bowl champions from 2 years ago. Cooper Kupp had 20 yards in the game versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's had 1 playoff game in his career, just had one of the best games of his career. So it's just different. I really don't think playoff experience matters as much as it does in other leagues. I think in the NBA, I think it matters a lot more. You see that with 4-game series. It's a really long stretch.
Yeah.
In the NFL, it's 1 game. I think there's a lot of variability. 1 pick six changes the entire game. Dak throws that pick six to start to, finish the half. They could have been down 20-7 getting the ball. It's 20-14. All of a sudden it's 27-0. So I think all experience goes out the window on any given Sunday, 1 day, win or go home type of game. Whereas in other sports, where it's more of a marathon, that kind of comes into factor.
Yeah, to talk about eye tests, Cooper Kupp looked old and slow yesterday. It's going to be really interesting coming into fantasy 2024.
That was Puka's
where
team.
He goes. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And Higbee's going to be out all next year after that hit, but we'll talk about that in a second. Over to you, Zach. After this loss, the number 1 issue for the Cowboys, coaching, quarterback, run game, defense, contract extensions. What is it?
To me, the number 1 issue for the Dallas Cowboys has to be their coaching. And I feel like if they want to get anywhere further with this core, they need to get rid of Mike McCarthy and arguably Dan Quinn as well. Both of them got completely exposed with their play calling yesterday. And Mike McCarthy has just set this standard of 12-5 in the regular season and then bowing out before the divisional round or before the conference championship. I'm pretty sure, was it 3 of his 4 years as Cowboys head coach, they've been 1 and done in the playoffs so far. That is not the type of culture that I would assume that Jerry Jones would like to be set. Hey, we're good. We're going to be hyped up as Super Bowl contenders, but we're going to take an early leave and I'll go to Cancun, in the middle of January, end of January. I don't think that's the type of culture that Dallas wants to set. I do think that they do have the talent to get over the hump. This is a roster. When you look at it, this should be a roster competing for the NFC Championship, competing for a Super Bowl year in and year out with Dak and CeeDee Lamb, that 1-2 combo. They can do pretty much anything. And Dak had one of his best years in his career this year. I expect him to get a fat contract, but Jerry needs to make him feel more secure with a new coach who actually knows what he's doing when it comes to January football.
Yeah, so Yeah, the one person that's been around that entire time since the 90s is the owner. So maybe I should have listed
is.
the owner as an
To
issue.
be
Um,
fair, lest we forget, Super Bowl 30, Jerry Jones made a prayer to God saying if that they won Super Bowl 30, he would never ask for another one. And they won Super Bowl 30, and they've yet to even make it to the end championship since then.
Yeah, let me
So-
just say I was a freshman in college when Super Bowl 30 happened. So, it's been a couple of weeks since then. But yeah, no, the one time they won a game in the playoffs with Mike McCarthy is when they ended Tom Brady's career, which is just a weird stat. All right, Rams at Lions. Over to you. Back to you, Jack. Is Matt Stafford a Hall of Famer?
Oh man, I mean, I think, yeah, I think I would say probably. I would say more likely than not. He's a Super Bowl champion, and statistically, he's there. I mean, he's got the counting stats. So at a bare minimum, he's going to be a real debate. He's going to be in the running, and I think the fact that he's won a Super Bowl, he was not the MVP, right? Cooper Kupp won that MVP, right?
Yeah.
It was Cooper Kupp that won that MVP. So he didn't win the Super Bowl MVP, but he's got the counting stats and he's got a ring. I think that is probably enough for him to get in, and I think that statistically he's better than a lot of other guys that you would be potentially talking about. Maybe, I mean, he's better statistically than an Eli Manning. He's better statistically than, or at least on par with a guy like Phillip Rivers. I mean, these similar kinds of quarterbacks, he's around there. He's in that range, and he's got the ring. So I would say probably yes.
I think it's an absolutely yes. I don't think there's any argument against it. I mean, he's 11th all time in total yards, less than 1,000 behind Eli Manning for top 10 all time. So if he doesn't retire, he's definitely going to pass Eli. He could pass Aaron Rodgers as well. He could theoretically, if he played another year or two, even pass Dan Marino. So if this is the end for Matthew Stafford, he finished 11th in yards, not to mention the Super Bowl. And I mean, he was the number one pick in the draft and has, I would say, met those expectations of being that good and all time, like being that much of an all time talent. Most clutch, one of the most clutch players ever. Most fourth quarter comeback wins in a single season. Like every major counting stat for receivers that's been broken, like receiving yards with Calvin Johnson, Cooper Kupp with that huge season, he's been responsible for those. So if Calvin Johnson and Cooper Kupp are in the Hall of Fame, Matthew Stafford needs to be there too.
And he'll be top 10 because I can't see him retiring after the game he had yesterday. He was slinging some Patrick Mahomes, like sidearm below shoulder level stuff. I mean, he looked really good, I thought. I mean, obviously they couldn't get it in the end zone once they got within the 20, but I think he'll be back. He'll get into that top 10. I think he'll pass and leave Rodgers in the dust. And, I think he'll be good. So,
although I just misspoke. I just said if Megatron and Cooper Kupp are in the Hall of Fame, that he should be. Cooper Kupp definitely will not be a Hall of Famer. And
Yeah, no.
I actually might say he might be right now, could be one of the most overrated wide receivers of all time after what he did. I mean, people say he's, based off that season alone, one of the best, but outside of that season, he's had one other 1,000-yard receiving season in his career, and that's it. And it looks like he's on the decline now. So could be a conversation.
No, he and Mike Thomas just fell off the table.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh my God. If you had Cooper Kupp and
swiftly.
Michael Thomas like 3 years ago in fantasy, you were like the best of all time. And now it's just like 6 points a game.
All right, Zach, to you. The Tyler Higbee injury, is that the sort of thing that's just unavoidable, especially with turf fields and the way that the shoes stick a little bit more to those fields than they do grass fields? Or do we need to have a rule change to avoid that?
Honestly, when they showed that injury on replay, it's like, what was anyone supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it was pretty stupid for the guy to go low, like with helmet leading into Higbee's leg and pretty much his ACL. Like, it looked really stupid. I don't think you can really avoid that. I will always say ban all turf because of just how many more injuries it seems to cause overall, especially turfs like the one at MetLife Stadium. But I don't think this is one of those injuries where I can be like, oh yeah, this is the turf's fault. Like yes, the shoes stick a little bit longer. Yes, stuff happens, but I can't blame this injury on the turf when a guy literally threw his head into Higbee's leg. I don't think this is about turfs.
But how else do you tackle? I mean, yes, could he have grabbed him instead of putting his shoulder, his helmet into the side of his leg? Sure.
I'm not saying how else do you tackle him. I'm saying how do you avoid this? There's really no way to avoid what happened, unfortunately. Like he was all his momentum was already going that direction. It's not like he could just suddenly stop when he saw, oh, it's his leg I'm going for, and my arms are not going to hit the side of his hip.
Yeah, the Cardinals showed us how to do it. They grow the grass outside, they wheel it in,
and it was still terrible during last year's Super Bowl.
It was what?
It was still terrible during last year's Super Bowl.
All right, what's worse, the conditions at Arrowhead or MetLife?
MetLife.
It's got
MetLife is the worst.
All right,
MetLife,
Buffalo today or MetLife?
MetLife.
I think that's more likely to get hurt at MetLife. Yeah.
I will die on this MetLife hill. Look, if there's snow on the field, that means
you'll probably tear your Achilles too.
Yeah. No, it's what they've improved. So I played on a turf field in high school, and there was no padding under that, like the old turf. It was just like falling on concrete almost. At least they've improved that. But I don't know what's going on with the MetLife turf, if they got like the stickiest turf they could get. But there are ACLs all over that thing. I mean, it's amazing. Now, I would not have wanted to fall on that frozen turf the other day. And I think today will be worse than what it was in Kansas City because you're not talking about real grass. So depending on how frozen that is or whatever. But it's a little insane. There's a lot of that going on. All right. Over to you, Jesse. A little trivia with Rams Lions.
All right. So based on yesterday, besides Puka, can you name the 10 rookies with the most receiving yards in a playoff game since 2000? So Puka broke the record. He had 181 yards, which is the most ever. So who we got?
I think DK had a big game as a rookie.
DK Metcalf was the one whose record got broken. He had 160 yards against the Eagles in 2020.
Noise.
I'm going to guess that Davante Adams is on this list somewhere.
Number 9, Davante Adams in 2015 put up 117 on the Cowboys.
Nice. All right. I think Jamar Chase was a rookie in the Bengals Super Bowl run, so I'll go with Jamar Chase.
Number 10 against, guess his opponent that he faced in the playoffs.
His opponent? I mean, I'm assuming it wasn't against the Rams, so
no. It was in the wild card round.
In the wild card, okay. Chiefs. Who would they beat? I don't even. Oh, the Raiders. It was the Raiders.
They beat the Las Vegas Raiders in the wild card round with Derek Carr. Good job.
What about Gronk?
No, Gronk is not on here.
Okay.
Ooh.
It is all receivers, I believe. It's all wide receivers. There is, shout out, Christian McCaffrey is farther down the list. He had 101 receiving yards as a rookie. But he's far down.
Wow.
Odell.
Odell is not on the list.
Huh. Okay.
Is Keenan Allen on the list?
Keenan Allen is number 3, 142 yards.
Wow. This is like so much harder than I thought. Because you have to think about teams that are good, that had good rookie wide receivers. It's how about Debo maybe?
No, not Debo. And actually, I misspoke. There is one running back on the list.
Huh.
Oh, the chat coming through. Mizzou legend Jeremy Maclin, ?
Jeremy Maclin is correct. Number 2 in the NFC wild card against Dallas, 146.
Thank you, Jeremy Maclin.
Another guess, Reggie Bush is the running back.
All right, stop reading the chat if they're just Googling it. Do you think it's Reggie Bush?
Is it correct?
Is it Reggie Bush?
I know he had a huge game against the Cardinals. No, that wasn't in 06. Yeah, he probably had more than 100 against the Bears because I know he had a 72-yarder in the NFC Championship game. So sure, Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush is correct. He's number
Wow.
4, 132 yards in the NFC Championship. The
Wow.
chat is there for them to guess, not for you to read their answers.
Didn't
Well, don't we want to finish at some point?
Yeah, but you know.
What am I waiting on Jack to guess?
If you guess an answer from the chat, at least guess it like you're guessing it, not like you're reading it off a screen.
just completely
I can
take the
play.
credit. But
We can
didn't Rashee Rice just have a pretty big game? Is Rashee Rice on this list?
He is. He's number 5, 130
Oh
yards.
wow. I
Nice.
didn't realize I was gonna count. Okay. Oh man, what other rookies have been really good in the playoffs? Like, man, I'm struggling to even think of a guess.
I would, yeah.
You've got 2020,
about-
2019, and 2010 are your last 3.
2020,
Justin
2019,
Jefferson?
and 2010.
No, not Justin Jefferson.
CeeDee Lamb?
Not CeeDee Lamb, but there is a Cowboy on here.
Oh,
What?
is it? No, he wasn't.
Is
he wasn't a
it
rookie with the
Dez?
Cowboys.
No, it's not Dez.
All right, if it's not Dez, and I feel like it has to be more recent, is it
Michael Gallup?
It is Michael Gallup.
What?
Take the words out of my mouth.
Well,
I'm-
you take so long to just say something.
Wow.
119 yards for Michael Gallup.
I
2
apologize.
left.
That was Zach's guess, not mine.
What years?
2010 and 2020.
Oh,
Okay, wait. So 2020
2020.
would have been the 2020 draft. What receivers were in the 2020 draft?
That's funny. I went straight to 2010 because that would.
I'm not going to remember the 2010 class.
That's what I'm saying. I went with the older
Yeah.
guys. If it's the 2010 playoffs, that's the 2009 season. Unbelievable end of that season, by the way. And I'm trying to think: Colts, Patriots, Vikings,
Mm-hmm.
Sidney Rice. It's not Sidney Rice.
It's not Sidney Rice. The 2010 was in the AFC Championship, and
Okay.
2020 was in the divisional round, AFC as
Not
well.
Julian Edelman, is it?
No.
I don't think the Colts
A-
had any rookies that were really
AFC
good.
divisional round.
Reggie
could this-
Wayne?
No.
Could this be T. Higgins?
No,
the
it's not
Bengals
T.
didn't make it
Higgins.
then. They had the number 1 pick the next year. Or no, not the number 1 pick. They had number 5 for Chase.
No, no, I'm just saying it could have been 2 of them.
No, it's not.
Okay.
How about like Brandon Ayuk? Was he in that class?
No. I don't know if he was in that class, but it's not him.
2020?
I
Who was damn good in 2020?
mean,
You
Chase
said the
Claypool
2020
used to be
game was
good?
divisional.
Yeah, he said AFC divisional. I'm just gonna. It feels like we're starting to like guess names. Chase Claypool, Mapletron.
No. All right. The AFC, the 2010 one is a Colts player.
Colts player.
In 2010?
Yeah.
Yeah. If
And
it
it's-
wasn't Reggie Wayne. Oh, was it Pierre Garcon?
No.
TY?
No.
That's
I haven't
too
heard
old
this
to
guy's
be
name
why.
in a very long time.
Awesome.
Our chat might have, though.
Please just tell us, chat, so we can move on. 2020 was the COVID year, right?
2020 was
Yeah.
the COVID year.
So we're
AFC
talking
North.
AFC North.
Wait, divisional?
Who was the Ravens rookie-ish that year?
Oh,
Before
was
Zay
it,
Flowers? Who was there?
was it Marquise Brown?
No,
Hollywood Brown is
Wow.
your 2020 with 126 versus the Titans in that rivalry game.
That might be the last time he got that many
Oh.
yards.
And the last
that-
one, the Colts
And,
wide
and that's the
receiver,
only playoff win of Lamar's career, I think, was that game.
Colts Colts wide receiver. Last one.
Is it Curse?
No, it's Austin Collie.
Oh,
Wow.
Brutal.
Oh my God.
Shout out to
That's-
Case in the chat, who apparently their brother was a huge Austin Collie fan and had some signed footballs in Jersey.
crazy.
I thought you were genuinely cheating when you said Reggie Bush, Michael Gallup, Jeremy Maclin, and Austin Collie as your first 4 guesses. All of them right? Yeah, right. You're not cheating. Anyway, thanks for playing. That was fun. Now that
Right.
we are 2/3 through the
Yeah.
wild card round. So now that we're 2/3 through the wild card round, are we more or less likely to see Ravens Niners in the Super Bowl? Brian, why didn't you talk?
I think we're absolutely seeing it. I just think the 49ers are too good. No offense to everyone in Detroit, but the Lions weren't super impressive yesterday. And if they have to go to San Francisco in the NFC Championship, I think they get blown out. And so I think the 49ers are an easy call on that side. When it comes to the AFC, the Bills have been better, but they haven't been awesome. The Chiefs have not been awesome. I just like the Ravens and 49ers even more than I did, going into this week when, we didn't have the Cowboys losing and other things going on. So I think it's probably an 80% chance we have Ravens 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would wait until after the Buffalo game tonight to decide if I'm more or less confident, because I think the Bills, to me, I think are very likely to potentially beat the Ravens, but I think it remains to be seen how they're going to look in the playoffs. But I think based on the games that we've seen so far, probably more likely, because I would say the biggest threat, but in my mind, before the playoffs to the Niners making it to the Super Bowl would have been the Cowboys. And we saw them get absolutely dismantled. And I'm not that concerned against the Packers against the Niners, because it just feels like we've seen this Niners-Packers matchup, especially in the divisional round, quite a few times over the years. And I know those were all Aaron Rodgers Packers teams, but historically the Niners have completely owned the Packers in the playoffs. So I would think that trend continues.
But how good would the Bills have to look against the Steelers for you to be like, yep, they're ready for the Super Bowl?
I mean, I picked the Bills to make the Super Bowl before the playoffs. So
Right. But you said
I guess
you
I'm
have to
sticking with
see
that.
how they play today. I'm like, how good would they have to win 50-0?
Well,
like, what is
no,
the number?
I'm saying to make it less likely in my mind. I think the Bills still have a very, very good shot at making the Super Bowl. I'm saying to make it less likely and in turn making it more likely the Ravens would make it, I would need to see the Bills not look great.
I still think it's most likely going to be Niners Ravens. I mean, you just look at the matchups ahead. I really think the last threats to this potential Super Bowl is going to be, first of all, for the Niners, it's the Lions, and that's really it. I think they take care of business against the Packers. Like Jack said, the Niners tend to do well against the Packers in the playoffs. It's kind of a weird rock, paper, scissors dynamic between the Niners, Packers, and Cowboys, where they all seem to do well against one another, but they just can't get each other off of each other's back. It's kind of weird. If you look back at their history in the playoffs against each other, it's pretty interesting how they consistently own one team and they can't beat the other team. But anyways, the Niners' biggest threat is the Lions, who I had as a dark horse contender going into this. A team that I thought would win their first game, maybe win their second game, but I can't see them beating the Niners in the championship if they make it that far. And then with the Ravens, I mean, the Chiefs are always a threat, but we've never seen Mahomes on the road, so we don't know what to make of that. And while I like the Texans, they're still pretty young. Pretty much comes down to the Bills at the end of the day. See how the Bills do against them, also likely in the championship. But the Bills can either show up and be amazing or show up and just forget how to play football. We don't know which Buffalo Bills team we're going to get, and we saw a lot of both sides throughout the season. So I think they're still the odds-on favorite, but still a few contenders left.
All right, Jess, to you. What do you think?
I think we're more likely than ever, because it seemed like the Cowboys and the Eagles are probably both going to lose. And at that point, we're just left with the Lions are the best chance to beat the Niners. And I would not bet on them in that game. And the Ravens as well. I mean, it's going to be exciting. I think the Ravens are most likely going to end up, they're playing the Texans if all things go according to plan tonight. So That should be a really fun one. CJ Stroud facing the Ravens defense should be a really great game to watch. But I think, all the Ravens need to do is beat the Texans and then host either the Bills or the Chiefs. I think that they can get it done in both of those games. So I'm rooting for the Ravens. I would love to see Lamar make it to the Super Bowl and, show all the analysts who don't think he's quarterbacky enough to do so and prove him wrong. So I would love to see it happen. And I think it is even more likely now.
Yep. All right, we're getting close to kickoff here. So I know you guys picked the game last week, the games for today, but I'm going to tell you Bills and I'm going to tell you Eagles. Zach, who wins?
I'm going to go Bills, and I'm going to go Bucks, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Bills and Eagles. I just don't think the Bucks are good enough.
I'm going to roll Bills Bucks. Let's go. Mike Evans.
Yeah, look, let Mike Evans is going to have a big game. I just, I can't see. It would be shocking to me if the Eagles lost this one. I mean, the Saints beat the Bucks pretty handily in Tampa a few weeks ago. The Eagles for sure can do it.
You saw that Quez Watkins is ready to answer the call, so we'll see if he.
Quez Watkins answering the call. You might as well not call at all.
That's going straight to
that
voicemail.
makes me just want to go in and put him at 90+ yards for the game.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, sprinkle a little Quez
Go,
Watkins.
yeah. It'll really
Anytime
be
touchdown.
worth sprinkling those $5 away. Really helping the house there with those $5.
Quez
got that
Watkins
dog in
2+ touchdowns has to win you $2,000.
Yeah.
If you bet
Quez Watkins
5.
over 200 receiving yards.
Oh God.
Should be fun. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're going to be back on Thursday with some games. We got a bunch of NBA today. On Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, and I have to go in and see if the Pelicans are still beating the Mavericks without everybody's favorite player, Luka. But
Kyrie's going off.
Is he?
Yeah, you guys are up 6 though.
Ah, there you go. Well, Kyrie can go off then. Enjoy it. Obviously, Herb's guarding somebody else. So, but good luck to all your teams. Hopefully, the 76ers can beat the Rockets and, just further extend our lead in the Southwest.
And Embiid had 40 and 10 against the Rockets.
41 and 10 in 31 minutes.
Oh, is that game already happening?
It's been
It's
over.
over.
Been over. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good for him. So his streak has continued.
Yes.
Yep. Until he
How far will it
faces
go?
the Joker tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Oh.
Unless
Big
he ducks
matchup.
him and sits.
Well, I was about to say, does he duck him just for the streak?
Then they get to face Orlando on Friday.
I think you play because I don't think they're both going to go off something stupid. Like it's just going to be no.
Yeah,
defense.
Jokic is going to have to actually try. He can't just score 6 points against the Sixers. So
Exactly.
it'll be fun.
So, all right. It was fun. Let's go watch a Monday doubleheader of playoff football. And thanks, and we'll see you Thursday.
Diggy on the track.